Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you survived the Christmas Day. This is December 26th. This is Thursday. Cloudy Boca Raton, 9:12 a.m. Took me a couple of seconds to get everything working here. And the latest news is that jet that was flying over part of Russia and so forth looks like it got cut in half by a Russian missile of some sort. And like it cut it in half, and the burning half went forward, and everyone in the last 10 rows survived because the airplane looked like it was severed from the photograph that I just saw on the news. So I guess I always, whenever you look at this crash data, I'm wondering, where's the safest place to be? Yeah. I guess there's no telling. Depends on what happened. But there are like 30 people survived that fiery burning crash. There were somewhere between 65 and 70 people on board, and 30 survived, 30 plus or minus. I guess they were diverted, because of cloudy, foggy conditions. The original report was, and now we're hearing something in the sort of maybe there was a missile involved. The Russian version of the NTSB, which is the XYZ. God knows what that. Yeah. But I think the European Union has some input on that, so they can't write their own report unilaterally. I don't know who writes the report, but that's the one good thing about an active news media. It keeps you honest to a certain degree. And if you don't have a news media that's, an investigative agency rather than a propaganda wing, it seems like the American media largely is a propaganda wing of the opposition party. In this case, a propaganda wing against the Republican Party. All the mainstream media. I bet you Trump is going to get in there and start banging on them. Like, you better start getting in the middle of the road, or we're going to consider sanctioning your license to broadcast. Period. How would that be? That would wake them up. Oh my God. What a stir. So, who knows? Well, you can see the time right over there. Look at that, nice and right where my finger is. 9:17, 22, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Whew. Seconds keep marching by. Yeah. Come on, baby, wake up. There we go. Oh, my iPhone got all loused up. I don't know what happened. I can't believe a virus got in there, but all the colors were like wacko. I think I just pushed some wrong buttons. So anyway, I erased the phone. I made sure there was a backup. I would hate to restore a backup with the way those colors were. It was really terrible. So I went back about 2 weeks and picked up a backup from this iPad right here, which I did a lot of work on this one, meaning getting rid of applications that I never use. In my opinion, an application, if you haven't done anything with it in the last month, get rid of it. Unless there's a specific reason why you want to hold on to it. And I brought my application count from 700 down into the 400s somewhere. Eesh. That's crazy. But anyway, so I used the backup from this iPad underneath this pad. Let's see if I can open it up without making too much of a mess. Gotta move that up there. Here. Then move this back over here. And then there it is. In all its glory. And like all these messages, you've added a new device. You've added a new device. You've added a new device. Yeah, because, like I say, I pretty much deleted my iPhone and made it a clean iPhone, like it was brand new, and it says hello. Yeah. Erased everything. And then I restored from a backup, and I used this device, which is an iOS device. So some of the apps aren't going to make it because they're designed specifically for the larger real estate. You got a bigger screen, obviously, and an iPhone, and some other differences. So, didn't get those apps. So if I need them, I'll load them again. But when in doubt, get rid of it. And so now I have an iPhone that's, got a lot more spare. When you do something like that, it eliminates a lot of garbage. So instead of me having only 40% memory available, storage available, now it's like 65% storage available, which is quite a change. Overnight change. It probably has to do with the photos and videos and all that kind of stuff, but that's okay. So, anyway, I think I got everything working here. And, we had a relatively modest, let's see, There's a picture of the crowd. There it is. So there's half the Klan, anyway. This is Maryland's half of the Klan. Yeah. My half of the Klan is in Virginia, so they had their own Klan up there. And there's yours truly. There's Daniel. Brennan's working. There's Marilyn. And then all kinds of other people. And these two over on this side, Bob and Jane, it was at their house. So we had, turkey, ham, and everybody brought a dish. Except for us, we brought an orchid. A non-edible orchid. Yeah. Anyway, so we drove, it's about 2.25 hours. So we drove over there in the morning. We're on the road at 9 o'clock. And got there at we stopped at McDonald's and stopped somewhere to get a little extra juice in our car. At Snake Road, there's a supercharger station, which we went in there and for 20 minutes or so and just put 90 miles worth of range back in the tank, so to speak, and carried on our way. So we were there like just about noon sharp. Yeah. Yesterday. And, we around and relatives and this and that, and how you doing? And, started eating at 2:30, 3:15. Eating is done. Put on the food bag, and you feed all these people. Yeah. 3, 6, 9, 12. So I would say 15 or so. Dating 2 years old to 80 years old. Everything in between. Yeah. So, yeah, it was good. The ride back is a little annoying because it's the ride back, number one. And number two, we didn't leave till 5 o'clock, I think. So maybe it was 4:30. And we didn't get home until like 7. So, it was dark, wintertime, 7 o'clock. So, but, we made it in one piece. And, that's quite a lot of car time, 2.5 hours up and 2.5 hours back. I should say over. They're about 160 miles all the way across the fat part of the state, in the southern part of the state. Taking the I-75 version of Alligator Alley all the way across. It makes for smooth riding. And there is a stop called Snake Road with 10 or 12 supercharger spots. Yeah, which is nice. It's a 90 what they would call a 90 kilowatt charging station. To give reference to something, we have a 230 volt plug in our garage, which we were fortunate enough to park right next to. Yeah, there's a plug right there. That the good doctor on our 8th floor up here. He paid a couple $1,000, I think $2,000, to the building department of our building that we live in. 200 family, multifamily building. Nice. One of the few buildings that provides larger square footage units. We have 1,550 square feet, which is just fine for us. And so the good doctor parked in a spot next to a column. He had the electric brought right down onto the column. He plugs in, and then he plugs his car into the outlet. And then lo and behold, I made friends with him. And I said, well, if I happen to let's get rid of that call. If I happen to pull into the parking spot next to you on the other side of the column, would you mind if I plugged in and charged? And the guy said, no, not a problem at all. And, I wrote him a letter and we made friends and this and that. I did that even before we bought our first Tesla. So we're talking 4 years ago, just 4 years ago. And so that's what we did. And lo and behold, anyway, so we use that charging opportunity as often as possible. Sometimes the car parks in there, for like a month on end. So the spot was like, blocked, so we couldn't use it, use the plug. So anyway, the good doctor decided to buy a Genesis. And so, I told him, I said, there's a Genesis parked in your parking spot all the time. That's my new car. I got rid of the Model S, like Sam, and got a Genesis. So I said, well, since you're not electric anymore, and since I am electric anymore, how about if we swap spots? I got a really good parking place up there on the 3rd, one level up. And so he looked at the spot and said, boy, I like this spot. And I said, well, I like your spot. Because we can park there and plug in whenever we need to. Yeah. So far that's working out pretty good. We swap spots. He's in mine and I'm in his. And that'll be the way it is until Ann or somebody in the building department, building management, says naughty mustn't do. So I don't expect that, but who knows. Anyway, so we have not only do we have charging in a multifamily garage, which is like unheard of, and I didn't have to pay the $2,000 to bring the plug there, nor did the doctor ask me for any kind of reimbursement. No. And So that's what we did. We swapped spots a couple months ago, and so far so good. No ticky, no laundry. No one's complaining. No one's saying anything about it. So that's the end of that. And let's see how long that goes. In the meantime, it would cost us about, according to what I'm looking at with the graphs and charts and things that the iPhone affords, when you're trying to keep track of. Let's see if I can look at it right here. If I have a Tesla, I do. Look at that. Let's see. I'm going to go to charging down here. Charge stats. You can see it right there in the middle of your screen. So there you go. So in the last 30 days, the last running 30 days, I got the home cost. You can see it, 14 cents. Yeah. So we would have, we're saving like $125 a month in electric charge. Yeah. This month, this last 30 days is a little distorted because we've got a bunch of supercharger miles in there because we did this round trip to Fort Myers. So there's 78 kilowatts at 39 cents a kilowatt. So that, that costs it would cost, as I remember, about $17 for a fill up, so to speak. You don't get down, lower than like 25%, unless you're really risky whiskey, which I tend not to be risky whiskey. Although there's plenty of chargers all over this place. Tesla has spent a lot of time and effort. They had a whole team of people, which Elon Musk got aggravated with and fired most of them, and then rehired a few of the top people, and then repopulated the department. I don't know what happened, but he was very unhappy with a whole bunch of the people in the department that was dealing with creating this infrastructure, which is vital, to the sales effort of Tesla cars. And of course, he's dealing with the, all of Europe and all of, the United States and the southern parts of Canada, all the way across Canada. And these chargers are, major, when you have so you have to buy a piece of property that could, that, um, buy into a shopping center. You got to negotiate it and this and that, and then you got to deal with the power company to make sure there's enough electricity, because major 100 kilowatt units, I'm rounding up, and if there's 10 of them, you got 100 times 10, you add up that power. You're talking about a lot of power. 90 kilowatt, 100 kilowatts per station. That's a lot of watts. A house, for example, you have a 200 amp service, 400 amp service. So that's 25 kilowatts maybe on average. 25. So each station is like 4 houses. Well, so if you got 10 spots, that's the equivalent of 40 or 50 residential units that are all of a sudden, you need the power requirements of to feed 10 spots. Now, this is real fast. I don't even have a napkin to diddle on. But yeah. That's amazing. I mean, if you have a house, I've had houses over the years, not now, living in a multifamily building now, 200 units, I'm on the 8th floor. But when I had a house, and you're down here in South Florida where you have hurricanes and all that, and myself and lots of other people that live in South Florida or anywhere for that matter have investigated, uninterrupted power supply, whether it be a diesel generator or a gasoline generator, a 25, if you had a 10 kilowatt generator, that's a 10,000 watt generator. That was a pretty big one. That's not institutionally, planted on your property with cement and all this stuff. 10 kilowatt generator is a big one. I know because I had a 7500 one made by Honda, electric start and all that. But I had to go electric start it, if the power went out. And then I got these big cables and I had to run them around and, anyway, so. But if you had a real good one, as opposed to just a jimmy rigged, pardon the expression, yeah, a 25 kilowatt generator. I almost got one. I almost thought about getting one, I should say. Oh boy. But a 25 kilowatt Kohler diesel or propane, fueled generator made by Kohler, 25 kilowatt. They're nice big one. You can run the whole house off of it, for about a week with a pretty good size, maybe a 500-gallon capacity, 500-gallon liquid natural gas or liquid or petroleum. You get delivery, service, and all that kind of thing. That kind of generator, you're talking, $10,000-$12,000 or something like that. But that's a 25 kilowatt generator, and that is more than operate the entire house. So you turn on everything, and that generator would be running at like 60% of capacity. Give you an idea. And we had a pretty good sized house with all kinds of electric, everything. Yeah. That's air conditioning, washer, dryer, full range, everything. 25 kilowatt generator alongside your house. That'll run your house for as long as you got propane gas to feed it. And I don't know I forget what the consumption is, but it's, it's a few gallons, a number of gallons a day. Of course, it's a number of gallons. A silly statement is that. Maybe 10 gallons, 7 gallons of liquid propane to run your house. So that gives you an idea. 25 kilowatt. There's no way I could draw 25 kilowatts, from our house. No usage. It's more like 15 kilowatts. But that's what you do. You over capacity of the generator, so it's right in the middle of the useful curve. You don't want to stress out the generator, so you're running at 90% capacity. Nah, if everything is turned on in the house, electric wise, that's probably 15 kilowatts, 16 kilowatts, and that needle, if you had is spinning. So you want a 25 kilowatt generator. And the reason why you want a Kohler one, Kohler, I've investigated this to the end of time. And even though you probably know what the most common generator is, Generac. Well, those, can run on a variety of different fuels, but that sucker is running at 3,600 RPM. I don't like 3,600 RPM. That's too fast, and it's too noisy. The Kohler generators, they're 1,800 RPM generators. So that means the engine, the power source, which would be the liquid propane fueled internal combustion engine that's turning that generator, is, it's probably like an 80 horsepower, maybe 100 horsepower diesel engine that's driving that generator, 25 kilowatt generator. Yeah, it's a nice setup. So right around 55-60% of the effective power range of that generator when you have your house fully, it's all lit up, and Marilyn's got the washer and the dryer running, and someone's cooking spaghetti on the range. So the air conditioner is, got the house down to 70 degrees. Yeah, that's probably 15 kilowatts. Yeah, they give you an idea of how much power is in these cars. Because if you got a 75 kilowatt battery, which is what we have in the Model Y, 75 kilowatts. That's like 5 houses. So you could run your house off your car for 5 days, in theory. Yeah, that'd be a interesting situation there. Anyway, so it just gives you an idea of 15 kilowatt house. That's a lot of watts. You probably average 9. And if you got a car with a 90 kilowatt battery, that's 10 days. You run your house off your car battery for 10 days. And there are kits that you can buy today to plug your car into your power situation in your house, so that if you lost power, you could run it off your Tesla, off the car battery. Yeah. In my opinion, they need to thinking about kilowatts in car batteries. The average gallons in a car, it's like 18-gallon tank. Okay, you can have them, 22, 23-gallon tank for a big SUV that used to have an 8-cylinder, supercharged engine, which most everybody doesn't care about doing anymore. So, you're going to get a 6-cylinder at best. A lot of Honda is like trying to specialize in a real high performance 4-cylinder engine, inline 4, straight inline 4. It should give you 200 horsepower, right about. So if you got a 200 horsepower electric motor up in the front, for example, connected with a 200 horsepower inline 4 internal combustion engine, that'd be called a hybrid. So 0 to 40, it's running off that electric motor with gas assist, and when it gets over 40, then you're running off the inline 4 and not so much the electric motor. And that's what the transmission and transaxle setup, to handle these two sources of power for, to feed the front wheels, at least, of a larger SUV or mid-size SUV. That would be that'd be it. That's that's a lot to be said. But the power swapping between the electric motor and the gasoline motor and vice versa. That's all very complicated electromechanical transmission system, which, these car manufacturers are real good at that. They've got good software that knows how to deal with those problems. And the solving of the problem is, the engineering drawings of a transaxle that connect a 200 horsepower or 220 horsepower inline 4 internal combustion engine with a 250 horsepower electric motor. That's what the hybrid requirements are. Anyway, but for a Tesla, for example, which is not a hybrid, it's all electric, and there are all kinds of charging stations all over the place. So the idea where you're going to get your power from, with this range anxiety, that's only because you haven't used it. My suggestion, if you're real nervous about it and you don't want to take my opinion for it, but please do. Go to what do you call it? One of the car rental companies, okay? That happen to have a couple of Teslas on their parking lot. Go into, Hertz, rent a car, and find a place that'll have a where you can drive a Model Y. See if they have a Model Y. I know they got a bunch of Model 3s, but if they were to happen to have a Model Y, which is a slightly larger version 3, and drive it for a week. It's worth leasing the car for a week or 10 days and just give yourself some experience with an electric car and where you're going to get it charged. And if you lease it for a week or 10 days, whatever the hell it costs you, it's going to give you an idea of, because then you're going to have to fill it up, and if you have it for, a week or 10 days, you're probably going to have to fill it up 3 or 4 times. And that'll give you an idea of just where these charges are in relation to where you live and how much of a pain in the neck it is to, to fill up in the fuel station, in the Tesla fuel station network that Elon is and his team have created. And they got like 15,000, fuel spots in the United States so far, which is, enough. But they're pumping out, each factory is pumping out 500,000 electric cars, a year between the 2 factories that he's got going in the United States. He's probably going to add, 1 more somewhere. So if you add 1, now it's another 500,000 cars, so that'd be 1.5 million cars. He's going to have 4 factories feeding the United States demand for electric cars. And that's not the government forcing you. After you get used to, the whole electric car experience, I can tell you it's pretty nice. And if you happen to live in a house, a single family detached house, and you have a dryer outlet, an electric outlet in your house, then you have 230 volt power, and just pay $600 for an electrician to come out and put a 50 amp circuit. That's what you need. You need a 230 volt 50 amp circuit. So you need a 15,000 watt circuit. And you need a NEMA 1450 plug. And when you get your Tesla, for example, get your charging cable set up with a NEMA 1450 plug, and then you'll be all set. And then you just plug your car right into your house circuit, charge the car, and 2 or 3 times a week you'll fill up the car whenever at your convenience. For example, we got back from this Fort Myers trip, so we're about 35% battery. So just say 35%, fuel tank. I'm trying to use that vocabulary. We're 35%, So what it looks like when the fuel gauge says half full and quarter full and eighth full and 7/8 full, and the needle goes back and forth. Well, so the same thing is with the electric energy as opposed to the energy that's supplied by gasoline. Yep. So anyway, Marilyn, so we pulled in to our parking spot last night, and we plugged in. What the heck? We had a 35% tank, and we filled it up to 90% last night. Fills right up. They don't want you to go past 90, on an everyday basis. We don't charge every day. We run it down to about 25%, and then we fill it up to like 92%, and we keep running up and down, between that range. And overnight, it has no problem charging the car, and putting, another 70 kilowatts or 60 kilowatts of energy back in the battery, so you can drive it for the next 250 miles. So, with a 300-mile battery, and the factory says, don't charge it past, 90 every day. Actually, they say 80 is even better. And don't run it down below 10%. So if you push it and you say, okay, I'll charge to 90 instead of 80, and I'll run it down to 10. So that means you can charge it all the way up 100%. like you're going on a trip, so you fill it up all the way. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. On a, once a month basis, let's say. You're going to go on a little bit of a trip, so you fill the tank up all the way. Yeah, that's what you would do if you had a gasoline tank. No problem with that. They just don't want you doing it every day. So let's say you go 90, you fill it to 90, and you run it down to 10. So you don't use the top 10%, and you don't use the bottom 10%. So that's 20% of your battery you don't really get a chance to use. They're almost telling you don't go there. You can, but they prefer you don't on, with a high frequency. So that means 20% of your battery is like sort of off limits, although you can use it. So if you got a 300 mile battery, let's just think of the battery in terms of miles, okay, instead of kilowatts, because that'll make you crazy. So forget kilowatts. Let's just go. It just so happens to be a 75 kilowatt battery, but let's forget the kilowatts. Let's just talk about miles. And the EPA miles of these cars is around 300. I think mine is 303 or something like that. So you never you don't really use the top 10. You don't use the bottom 10. So that's 20. That's gone. 20% of 300 is 60. So that means you have a 240, 250 volt battery. A 240 mile range, in your fuel tank. So that's it. You just keep that in your head. When your fuel gauge says, 50%, you got 120 miles worth of range left. And you could add 120 miles worth of range if you plugged in somewhere. Right? So you got 240 miles worth of range. Back and forth. Fill it up, run it down. Fill it up. The same thing if you had a gas tank. If you have an 18-gallon gas tank, that's about it's a little more range. It's 350 miles of range. But you don't want to run the tank below 10%. The old expression, you're running in on fumes. Who the hell wants to run on fumes? You're running around with a gallon jug of gasoline. That you don't want that to happen. You just don't want to be so lack of planning of your life that you allow that to happen. So you don't, and you govern yourself accordingly. So you run it, and every time you go to the gas fuel place, you don't fill it to the very top. How many times you hear people put $20 worth in? So what is $20 worth in the average car? When it costs you $80 for a fill up, and you're putting 20 in, that means you're filling your tank up about 20%. So if you got 300 mile range, you're adding about 60, 70 miles worth of range in the car with a $20 bill. That's about what it is. We had a Honda, had a 18-gallon gas tank, and you fill it up to 90% full, but about every 4 or 5 days. That's what I remember. Depending on whether you had a little, 50-mile trip to somewhere to go, look at a special item on sale, or to go buy something, or go to a special restaurant a little bit further away from the house. Those little extra excursions make it why you fill up every 4 days instead of every 5 days. Same thing with the electric tank, But if you live in a single-family detached house, it is definitely worth it for you to hire an electrician to come out and put, let's say a 75 amp box outside, outside your garage. So you can just pull up in the driveway and plug in, per se. You don't have to pull in the garage to feel connected. But, that's what the convenience is with your garage. That's fine. A lot of people just put a 75 amp service on the outside of their, on the side of their house, and fit it with a NEMA 1450 plug. That's what it is. It's NEMA, NEMA, which is the North American standard, plug sizes. There's a NEMA, 1330 and a 1335 and a 13T and all these different abbreviations. And most of those are like dryer outlet plugs. And there are 4 or 5 different dryer outlet plugs that are available in various regions of the country. Over here in the south, in the East Coast, the NEMA 1450, is a 12,000 watt plug. Okay, and that's what you want. You want your power cable to charge your car. You want that fitted with a NEMA 1450 plug, and you want the electrician to put a NEMA 1450 plug receptacle, on the side of your house or inside. Inside the wall of your garage, wherever it's convenient for you, within, 15 feet of where your Tesla is going to be parked while you're charging it, So, I was talking to my daughter, her son, she just rented a Model 3, or bought, I guess she bought a Model 3. One that was like 5 or 6 years old. Low mileage, I guess. And I wish they would have given me a call. I would have helped them. Yeah. I would have discouraged a 6-year-old buy to, a used car that's 3 years old. But anyway, so the kid wanted a Model 3. How cool is that? Yeah. So we got 3 electric cars in our family unit, if you will, if you want to include grandchildren. It's really quite a. I mean, they have unbelievable get up and go, and they run silent, so you don't hear anything. You know, you don't have this engine that's going to, you don't have oil changes. There's no service. You know, that's what's crazy good about it. Anyway, that's what I can share with you about electric cars and kilowatts and what's a watt. What? Give you an order of magnitude of your house is about 15 kilowatts, okay? 15,000 watts a day. And, they call them watt hours. You call them, it's like, just think of it as like water through a hose. You got a hose, you got a pipe, and water flows through the pipe. And the fatter the pipe, the more water that you can flow through that pipe. Well, with electricity, it's very similar, except it's not wet. So as an order of magnitude, 15,000 watts is a lot of electricity to consume for a typical family. It'd be more like 9,500 watts. So let's say 10,000 watts. Could go a little higher, it goes a little lower mostly. So it averages 10,000 watts. So, the average in a Tesla, the typical battery today is a 300 mile battery, which is 75 kilowatts. 75 kilowatts. Now remember, the house is 7,500 watts. So that's like 10 days. 7 to 10 days of the energy that it takes to run your whole house is in that battery. So that's a whole lot of watts. Yeah. Now, for me, I would much rather have the battery that's in a Model Y be up, at 100 kilowatts, because you just need that, because you don't use the top 10, you don't use the bottom 10, so let's say it's 12, you don't use the bottom 12 and a half, and you don't use the top 12 and a half. So that means you run it up to, 85%, and you don't run it below 15%. So that means 30% of your battery you don't get to use. So if you got a 100 kilowatt, if you got a 400 mile battery, let's just, instead of using kilowatts, let's go back into thinking in terms of miles. Now, if you got a 75 kilowatt battery, and that's which has a NEMA rating of, let's say 315 miles, just on average. I wish that would be, a 400 kilowatt battery, so it would be up around, let's say 410, 420 NEMA, rated miles. Well, actual miles and rated miles is different. The actual usage miles is not the same as what NEMA rates it. They think it's the same, but it's not. your actual mileage range on the battery is lower than what NEMA rates it at. That's under ideal conditions and ideal this and ideal that. And, we all know that we don't drive under those ideal conditions. So, if you have a 400-mile battery, just think in terms of miles. When you're talking to the dealership, say, how many miles I got in that battery? That's what you want to know. And if he says 400, then, you're going to lose 25% of that. Because if you don't go up to 82.5% or 87.5%, and you don't go lower than 12%, right? Because you're not going to run it on fumes, whether electric fumes or gasoline fumes. So if you just use 12.5 on each end, that's 25%. 12.5 and 12.5 is 25. 25% of 400 is 100. So with a 400-mile battery, you're really only getting 300 miles of everyday range, So that's what you want. And if Elon Musk, if Tesla asks me what I think, which they don't very often, that's what I'm going to tell them. I want a 400-mile range battery because I'm only going to get to use 300 of it. And they know that. It's all sales crap. So since I don't have a 400-mile range battery, I've got a 300-mile range battery, which is now running at about, according to the graphs and charts, I get just out of the Tesla itself. I'm only getting, I'm down to like 293 actual miles I get out of the battery, because the battery, over time, that decreases. The battery doesn't stay at a 300-mile range battery forever. It loses a certain amount of its capacity over time, just because it does. It gets just like human beings. So over time you can't run as fast, so to speak. Well, the battery, loses, let's say, 10 miles a year. So, 3 or 4 years from now, that's 30 or 40 miles. That's away from the battery. So you can't use the top 12, and you don't use the bottom 12. That's 25. And after 4 years, you're going to lose another 40 miles worth of, So now you're into, you're down in the 220 miles worth of range with a 4-year-old battery or a 5-year-old battery. So my advice is lease these electric cars. Don't buy them, lease them. And that way every 3 years you get a brand new car, brand new battery, pay on time, and so you can always, the leasing is the best, the best price per mile in driving a car is leasing, period. Owning an electric vehicle is you're just about at the point where you can start buying a lease car. you start buying a Tesla car because they've refined, Tesla's engineers, and he's got a fine organization that is optimizing all these values and improving, because he has a huge fleet of leased vehicles, and he wants them to be high quality after 3 or 4 years of use, because his portfolio would be degraded if they don't last long. So that's a real good thing. So if you're, if you rather own the car rather than have Tesla own the car, which I don't care who owns it. Actually, I'm interested in how much, dollars per mile, so to speak. With your lease or buy, I can pretty much guarantee you, with under current financial terms, with interest rates and so forth, leasing is a lot cheaper per mile than owning. When you add in all the costs of owning, you have to, forget the insurance part, because, that's just, that's $300 or $400 a month, on either side, either way. So don't bother with that, because you're going to have to insure the car no matter what. So just keep it simple, stupid, and just talk about the car and the money cost. And the money cost, if you own the car, there's a money cost, because the money you have in the car, you could have invested in something else, which would have made money for you instead of cost you something. So that's why when you think you're getting away with murder by owning it, well, you're not necessarily. Because if you got that money, invested in the vehicle, then you can't invest the money in something else, or at least that $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000, whatever you're paying for your vehicle, gasoline or electric. Yeah, there's a money cost. Let's see. So anyway, that was one exciting thing. I had a grandson that ends up with a Model 3. We'll see how he does with that. I was explaining to his mother, my daughter, all this stuff about what I just talked about today. Yeah, I'll tell her to tune in, and she'll figure out what she's got to do. So she needs to, I should put some graphics together so I can show you some graphics. Plug this wire with this and plug that into that. And, I had the cable put together, and I put some tape around it so you couldn't unplug the things that are unpluggable. Because, once you get that wire set up for charging your car, you're not going to change it. So I used some blue masking tape and just put it so it wouldn't accidentally disconnect. Yeah. Anyway, so our electric experience is pretty good. Yeah. And if you're going to be charging with superchargers exclusively, because you're not using your, you're not plugging into your house current, it's going to cost you, about 300% more. So, whereas a fill-up, if you're going to fill the battery, remember between 12.5% on the bottom and 12.5% on the top, you're going to fill up to 87.5%. All right? So you're not going to touch the top 12.5%, and you're not going to run lower than the bottom 12.5%. Just in terms of miles. You don't want to drive into your driveway with less than 30 miles worth of range. I don't care if it's electric range or gasoline range. Range is range. It all boils down to miles, right? So your miles, when you fill up with a supercharger, for example, right now that's going to cost you about 40 cents a kilowatt, as opposed to 15 cents a kilowatt. Well, you compare 15 cents to 40 cents, and it's about 2.5 times. So you're going to figure, you plug into a supercharger, on average, you're going to pay, 2.5 times more than if you charged it, with your home, power. 230 volt power, by the way, not 110. Because that doesn't put any real rate. Overnight, it might put 20 miles and 25 miles worth of range in your battery. Well, that's not much to talk about. That's barely getting by. 12.5. Trying to charge your car battery with 110 volts. You got it. Remember, the car battery is 7 or 8 times the amount of power to run your house. So it's a slow ride to fill up a battery with a 6 kilowatt plug, and your power plug is about 6,000 watts, and beyond that the plug gets, it feels like it gets hot, because that's all the power you can shove through that pipe. It's about 6,000 watts. With a 230 volt service, you can shove around 10,000 watts through that cable. That's about it. Yep. And that gets hot or warm, So, alrighty then. That's my battery stories. I think I've told you everything about what's, you don't. Oops. There we go. We gotta open up this baby. Anyway, so that's my kilowatt story and my batteries. Looked, there's the Murray clan, so to speak, Maryland's side of the family. My side of the family is, and I haven't gotten those pictures yet. Waiting for those. They put everything up on Facebook. I don't really go. I guess I'll have to go to Facebook and go look at them. And I don't like downloading pictures from Facebook. They're usually low resolution, 1 megapixel pictures. They do that because they don't want to overload their servers with all this picture data. Yeah, oh boy. There's gasoline prices today. $3.04 average gasoline price, $3.04 a gallon. Last week it was $3.03. Last month it was $3.05. Last year was 312. So it's 8 cents lower than last year. Yeah, that's a manufactured price. Just so you can show it didn't go up that much year to year. And when Trump gets in there, that'll change it. And part of the change will be just the simple fact there's Jimmy, Marilyn, and our two boys, Brandon and Daniel. Brandon between us, Daniel over there in the top left. Yep, there's Happy Jimmy. Yeah, there he is. That's as happy as I get. That's really happy. Yeah. Marilyn's always happy. And Jimmy is, I'm happy. That's as much happy as you get. Happy Christmas, everybody. I hope you had a good Christmas now that it's over and tree gifting. I want to show you something. One little unique gift that I got from my daughter, Robin, in Washington, D.C. She found these. So, TNTOR. There's not enough, there's no vowels in there hardly. It needs more vowels to be useful in English. TNTOR, however you pronounce Tintor. So once you figure out how to open the box, and the box has this little lock thingy on it. So let's go. I'm gonna go full screen on Jimmy, if you don't mind, just so I can show you this. You can see. So we open up the box. There's Tintor, TNTOR, and then you open it. Just slide that like that, and out comes this skinny little guy, which you could put in your back pocket. And it's a power source. It's a 250. It's a 2,500 milliampere lithium polymer battery. So for something that's probably 4 credit cards thick, it has a little mass to it. Yeah. Now this little wire, there's a little plug right here. Whoops, sorry. Which you pull straight out. You got to look at the arrows carefully. This is a fragile little device, so don't go yanking it this way when you're supposed to push it and pull it along the lengthwise of this thing. That'll give you a little something to remember. Here's a wire that's attached to it, and then it runs inside the battery. So you just pull this out carefully. I'm jiggling it. There we go. So it's on this very fragile wire, and that is what you would plug in, for example, into your phone. Let's say your phone inexplicably ran out of power, and you've got to make one more phone call, and your battery is just dead in a doornail in your phone. You can charge up your battery a little bit with this thing and get maybe 5 or 10 minutes worth of talking with this little guy. So this could be a lifesaver for you. So that's how you use the power. Let's see if we can get this plug carefully back. It slides along a little slide thing. Yeah, it looks like it's got a little slide thing. There we go. So now we've tucked in that wire. Now on this edge right here, this is all USB-C connectors. I'm going to use this one because it's white and it's easy to see. So here's a white USB-C connector, and then there's a little port right here. If you go to TNTOR, their website, you can get an expando view of this, and this just plugs in there, and that's what charges the battery. And you see here, it's got 4 little lights that are lit up, and the 4th light is blinking, which means that it's charging with that 4th light. And when that 4th light stops blinking and is illuminated, that means then the battery's full. So they ship these out full, and after from being in the factory and being on the the shelves of whoever supplied this to my daughter, which is probably Amazon. So this battery is now charging. And I can see those 4 little lights. They're actually bright. They're 4 little tiny lights. So they got 4 little LEDs that light up. To give you an idea of 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100% battery. So you have a 2,500 milliamperes or 2.5 amps of power, in this little cell to power up whatever device has just run out of power. This can recharge it. So I thought that was a cute little stocking stuffer. It's probably a $30 stocking stuffer. Easy for me to say, right? Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that from TNTOR. A little 2,500 milliampere hour slip in your back pocket power source, just in case your iPhone, you just stuff it in in your purse somewhere, and so if it'll probably hold a charge for 8 months to a year, and it may just give you that extra 5 minutes worth of energy that you need. You're on a Zoom call, and you can plug this thing in while you're on the call because you're afraid your phone is going to cut out, at the wrong moment. So at least you get a few more moments. This might give you an extra, 10 minutes worth of talk time, depending on what kind of phone you got and how much energy it takes to keep it running. Yeah, I would say this give you an extra 10, 12 minutes worth of talk. Just sitting in your purse somewhere. No, there's a little weight to it, There's a little weight to it. Maybe weighs 6 ounces. Big deal. Yeah, that's no big deal, 6 ounces. All right. So we're gonna have a happy New Year. So now we're in this tax period. All the financial advisors should have already done this, but you have this. You got to do this and you got to do that by year end, so to speak. Get certain. Throw all the expenses you possibly can into this year, so you get this year's tax benefit. Or pay something next week instead of this week, and it goes into next year's. You got all kinds of insurance company. We're switching our health insurance from one insurance to another. I want to call. We're switching to Cigna. Yeah. From United Healthcare, actually. The company that the CEO just got shot. How crazy is that? Oh boy. Well, anyway. I too am not happy with United Healthcare, but not in a violent way. So I decided in a non-violent way to call and shop around, which is a terrible, it is such an uncomfortable experience to shop health insurance, because you talk about, it's like there's so many parameters that it's, So last week I was an insurance genius for about 11 minutes with a small G. And it turns out that Cigna had the best, things that we needed, and particularly when it came to the drug. That's where they can, that's where things are different. I don't want to be surreptitious about it. But, some drug companies will pay for, I use Symbicort. I'm not a COPD victim, but I could be. So I'm like a pre-COPD, like you were pre-diabetes. Well, now I'm pre-COPD. I'm not actually COPD yet. So this is, an expensive thing. You get an inhaler. Has a red case on it. And it, without insurance, it's like $1,200 for a month worth of COPD. I'm sorry. Worth of Symbicort. SYMB. Symbicort. Yeah, that's what they call it. There's three chemicals all mixed into one aerosol spritzer that you breathe in. A couple of puffs in the morning and a couple of puffs in the evening. So I'm doing, one puff in the morning instead of 4 puffs, 2 and 2. I'm just doing 1 in the morning. So I get four times, the use of a 30-day thing, and it works for 3 or 4 months. Because I only do it 1 puff in the morning. Maybe I'll do a puff in the morning and a puff in the evening. But that's it. So, but, Cigna pays and Humana, for example, I was on a Humana plan, and they They don't pay for Symbicort. They just decided they're not paying anymore for Symbicort. Well, what the hell? I'm using. So that's all of a sudden $1,200 a month. Oh, your macro. Oh, jeez. Well, Symbicort pays and Humana doesn't. So guess what? And same thing with the way in which they pay Ozempic. I'm an Ozempic user. And I consider that an Ozempic user instead of an insulin user. Because Ozempic is so good at managing your blood sugar levels. It really flattens out, the curves in the graph if you graph your blood sugar levels. And I'm a graph guy. So, man, I'm watching you. There's my, this is my, oh boy. Yep, Ozempic is magical. You give yourself one shot a week, and it completely manages my blood sugar. I haven't used an insulin pen in a whole year. I started Ozempic last year, about, in January. So I'm an Ozempic user for 1 year, and it is magical the way in which it controls your blood sugar. So if you're an insulin user or a metformin user, where they start, doubling up on how much metformin you take, you might ask your doctor to give you a try on Ozempic. Ozempic. Comes in a little pen. You give yourself a little self-injection. The needle is only a 1/4 inch long, so you can't stick it all the way in your rib cage or something. Yeah, I mean, you just stick it in the fatty part of your stomach somewhere, where you can get the most fat. Wherever your most fatty area, in your thigh, in your stomach area. But if you're like a pre-diabetes patient, Ozempic is really quite good. It also has the ancillary benefit if you may lose 10 or 15 pounds, which everyone can lose 10 or 15 pounds probably. So you get the ancillary benefit of losing a little weight. Not a lot, but a little, and it helps prevent major cardiac events for some reason. They've just found out that, they designed this thing for your blood sugar. Okay. But after millions of people using Ozempic, they found out that people do lose weight. And semaglutide, which is the chemical, and you start off at 1/4 milligram of semaglutide per week, and then you step up to 1/2 milligram semaglutide per week, and then you step up to 1 milligram of semaglutide a week, and then you get to 2 milligrams of semaglutide. So by the time you're in it for 6 months, you're up to the normal dose, which is 2 milligrams of semaglutide, and that controls your blood sugar in a wonderful way. So if you're taking metformin or a similar drug, or you're doing insulin shots, which I went from metformin to insulin to Ozempic. But if you're, they're starting to up your dosages of metformin, for example, or equivalent, or the insulin business, which I was, I was doing that for a couple of years. It didn't bother me. But when you can just take one little injection every week, and you don't have to deal with any of that stuff, it really is quite amazing. So I haven't taken an insulin shot in the whole year. Now my blood sugar did go over 250 a couple, maybe a couple of times a month it goes over 250, but it's like 280 or something. It's not like 390. I've never been to 300. With Ozempic, it keeps the blood sugar pretty stable, even if you go crazy and eat a bowl of ice cream, which for someone who's pre-diabetic or so, a bowl of ice cream is not in the cards. Your blood sugar will go nuts. So, and it's serious, controlling your blood sugar is serious business. Diabetes is a serious business because it gets worse and worse. And if you don't control it, things start dropping off. They start amputating parts, legs and stuff. So you want to control. Period. You must control your blood sugar, or else assuming you need some kind of help with that medically, pharmaceutically, meaning you need some kind of drugs to help you with your blood sugar levels. A common treatment is metformin, and I was taking one pill morning and night. Then I was taking 2 pills morning and night, and the doctor says, "Well, let's go to 3 pills." I said, "Let's not do it at all. I'm gonna try insulin for a while, and I'll just give myself, a shot. I'll take a shot of 7 milligrams of, insulin, not milligrams, 7 units of insulin before each meal." So that's no big deal, but that's three shots a day. Ozempic is 1 shot a week. That is the difference of at least 20 injections. So with Ozempic, you have 1 injection instead of 21. And then you have to have this thing in your arm or poking holes in your finger, doing your blood sugar tests all the time. That becomes annoying. You touch the little thing on there, and then you see it go up to 107 or whatever. It's good. It's accurate, and so you give yourself, your blood sugar goes up, 100, so you take yourself 7 or 8 units of insulin, or you pop a few more metformin pills. Believe me, it's a lot easier just to do Ozempic. It's really quite amazing. And if you can level off at a 0.5 milligram of semaglutide, and they step you up, a quarter, a half, and 1 milligram, and then 2 milligrams. So anywhere in between there, you can stop. In other words, just, stop at a 0.5 milligram of semaglutide a week instead of 1. If you don't need 1, then do a half. Titrate yourself. But it's a lot easier taking 1 shot a week than it is 1 shot before each meal. And then you have to figure out how to carry the pen with you when you're eating out, with a client or something. It's just something. It's just an advancement in medical treatment. Ozempic, the way they manage that drug is very carefully. They step you up in value to make sure you don't have any allergic reactions, I guess, or to let your body get used to it in your system. But it really is quite amazing the way it deals with your blood sugar levels. Yeah, I've been charging this thing ever since I saw it's still blinking on that last blinker, but it's blinking slower. Yeah, this is a live plug, so I know it's charging, and we can tell it's charging because that little light is flashing. Pretty handy little doodad there. Yeah. I try not to let my phone run all the way down, but it's happened occasionally. And if you happen to have this in your back pocket, as opposed to, when you're out, so you can't get to your charger, that's a pretty handy little emergency power source. Yeah. Bye. TNTOR. I'm sure they have, a 5,000 milliampere hour as opposed to 2,500 milliampere hour battery. Yeah. I'm sure they have a slightly larger one. But this is a really nice balance between size, weight, and capacity. Nice little thin doodad for about $30, I think. Probably on Amazon. I'll look it up. In fact, I'll look it up right now. Why not? There's Amazon. Oh gosh. Move the microphone out of the way so I can, Whew. All right. Search.
It's 11 o'clock.
TNTOR. Let's see what comes up. There we go. They're $20. There you go. Yeah, you got one plug unit. You got two plug unit. Different shapes. They got ones that magnetically stick to the back of your iPhone, for example. Oh, with 10,000 milliampere hours. Ooh. Fast charging portable back, $35. What a deal. Here's a little advertisement about Tentor. Yeah. Sure. $20. Yeah, they got big fat ones and everything for 3,800. Wow. I think this 2,500 milliampere hour guy. Oh, here it is. 3,500 milliampere hours for $20. Amazon Prime. I can get it tomorrow. $20, shipping included. That's what's crazy. Yeah. They got different shapes and sizes. Yeah. All right, so that's what we found out. Listen, you all have a nice day. It's 11:02 now, and I've talked about interesting little stocking stuffer and Tesla or electric car miles, watts, trying to relate it to your house and so forth. I should relate it to how much time under your hair dryer. I can do that. I'll think about that for tomorrow. How long could you be under your hair dryer, plugged into your Tesla car? Yeah. All right. Our grid cannot stand a huge expansion in electric vehicle. Unless we add, a lot of megawatts to our grid system, which is naturally growing because of all this AI stuff. Forget the AI factories, just these big supercomputers. Forget that part. Just the AI development means that more and more things are going to be controlled electronically. Well, electronically requires electrons. those little doodads that float inside of wires, right? Oh boy. Academic sound instrumental or royalty-free music. Thank you so much, Epidemic, for a wonderful background music that you hear. Our classic sound. This classic sound came up on our car when we were riding home from Fort Myers last night. And I heard this and I said, "Oh my God, I know that song." It's not a song; it's what you hear. Yeah, background music, like in my self-imposed dentist office here, as I'm yakking away. Yeah, it's epidemic sound instrumental. You gotta have some background music, particularly if you're streaming. Because, when you're streaming, I'm throwing bits and bytes over the internet, and you want to keep stuff moving through the pipe, through the internet pipe. We were talking about pipes with just charging your car. Well, internet, I'm throwing. This is a simulcast between 3 different broadcasts. 3 of them. Yep. My ticker tape disappeared. I had a ticker tape. Let's see. I'll have to figure out. It's not flowing across the top of my window here, so I guess you can't see it either. Yeah. It would have told you that I'm simultaneously this system I have going here on my MacBook Pro 15-inch. I think it's an A2 chip. You got the A2, 3, and 4. I don't need a super fast chip. This is fast enough. But I'm simultaneously broadcasting on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter Live. Yeah. X. I'm sorry, X. WXYZ, whatever it is. I think it's X. Yeah. I'm still calling it Twitter, even though it's X. So, with that in mind, please excuse the fact that I've lost my little ticker tape there. I'll have to figure out how to get that going again. I don't think that's hard to do. It's one of these guys. I thought it'd be this one. I think it's that one. That's the one that should be working. Let's go full screen on this. I'll figure it out. Anyway, so in the meantime, you all get ready for lunch. If you've been listening to me for the last hour and a half, I hope you have. Every once in a while, what the heck, you learn something about something. Even if you don't want an electric car right now, at least you've learned a little something about how the power requirements compare to your requirements. And your house and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you all have a nice after Christmas. You clean up all your wrapping paper and all that kind of stuff and fold your boxes back, which I have to do, and send a Twitter to my or a text message to my housekeeper. She comes in every other week, and this Christmas week she doesn't work, so we'll see if I know she's got her phone in her hand all the time, so I'll see if I can get to her and find out when she's going to come visit us up here on the 8th floor above Chops, downtown Boca Raton, which is 78 degrees, 78.3, 76% relative humidity. My temperature in here is 72.9. That's a little bit warmer than normal. 60 degrees relative humidity. I'll have to go check my air conditioner compressor situation, make sure it's working properly. I'm usually freezing to death at 68 degrees. I'm at 72.9. That's getting up there in the Richter scale. Marilyn would consider this hot. Yeah, she's Native American Indian, and believe me, these redskins are hot-blooded. I gotta keep this place at 70 degrees when she shows up. And so I have it running at 72 during the day and 70 at night. Yeah, period. Gets above 70 and she starts to perspire. Or think about perspiring. And when she gets to about 73, she starts really perspiring. Yeah, she's a North American Native American. She's not used to living in the South. On being a wise guy, she's born and raised in Miami, so she's used to. And when they grew up, they never had air conditioning in their house. Think about that. South Florida, Miami, no air conditioning. Are you kidding? That must have been quite. Talk about using the hairdryer. Woo! When you're already at 80 degrees, 82 degrees in the morning, and you're blowing your hair with 120 degree air. Whew. That's hot bod, yeah. Whew. We had a little interruption in our electric for a hurricane a couple of years ago. When she'd go to work, she'd have to do the hairdryer in the car. She'd run her brush through her hair, having the air conditioning blowing on her. That was their hairdryer, the air conditioner in the car. Oh boy. Yes, ingenuity. Okay. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. I'll turn up my epidemic so you get on a crystal clear value. Bye-bye.